Oil, it fuels our cars, it powers our industries, it heats our homes. It's the lifeblood of modern civilization, a substance so crucial it's earned the nickname black gold. Since its discovery, oil has propelled humanity into an era of unprecedented progress, shaping the destiny of nations and transforming the global landscape. But this liquid power comes at a price. The story of oil is a saga of ambition, innovation, and conflict. It's a tale of boom and bust, of fortunes made and lost. It's a story that spans continents, from the deserts of the Middle East to the offshore rigs of the North Sea. Oil's influence touches every aspect of our lives, from the cars we drive to the products we consume. In this epic saga, we'll journey through time, tracing oil's path from ancient discoveries to its present-day dominance. We'll explore the pioneers who unearthed this hidden treasure, the tycoons who built empires upon it, and the conflicts it ignited on the world stage. Buckle up as we delve into the captivating history of black gold. Imagine a world without oil. No roaring engines, no soaring airplanes, no bustling cities illuminated by electric lights. It's a world vastly different from the one we know, a testament to the profound impact oil has had on human civilization. Oil's discovery ignited a technological revolution, propelling us from the age of horse-drawn carriages to the era of supersonic jets. Industries that once relied on water wheels and steam engines were transformed by the power of oil. Factories hummed with newfound efficiency, producing goods at an unprecedented scale. Transportation was revolutionized, shrinking distances and connecting far-flung corners of the globe. Oil's impact extended beyond the realm of technology. It reshaped the geopolitical map, turning obscure regions into strategic assets and fueling rivalries between nations vying for control of this precious resource. The quest for oil sparked wars, toppled governments, and dictated the course of international relations. Oil's influence permeates our daily lives, even in ways we may not realize. From the plastics we use to the clothes we wear, oil's byproducts are ubiquitous. It's the invisible hand shaping our modern world for better or for worse. But oil's story is not just a tale of triumph and progress, it's also a story of caution, a reminder of the responsibility that comes with wielding such immense power. The extraction and consumption of oil have taken a toll on our planet, contributing to climate change and environmental degradation. As we move forward, we must grapple with the consequences of our dependence on this finite resource. This is the story of black gold, a journey through time and across continents to uncover the captivating history of oil. It's a story of innovation and greed, of progress and peril. It's a story that continues to unfold today, as we navigate the challenges of a changing energy landscape. Join us as we delve into the epic saga of oil, exploring its past, present, and uncertain future. Long before the roar of engines and the glow of city lights, oil flowed beneath the earth, a silent witness to the rise and fall of civilizations. Its presence, though not fully understood, was felt in subtle ways. Ancient civilizations, from the fertile valleys of Mesopotamia to the sun-baked lands of Egypt, stumbled upon this curious substance seeping from the ground. They called it bitumen, a thick, sticky liquid that seemed to hold the promise of both utility and mystery. The ancient Sumerians, renowned for their ingenuity, were among the first to harness oil's properties. They used bitumen as mortar, binding together bricks to construct their impressive ziggurats, towering structures that reached towards the heavens. The Egyptians, masters of preservation, found another use for this natural sealant. They employed bitumen in their mummification rituals, using it to preserve the bodies of their pharaohs for their journey into the afterlife. Oil, in its raw and unrefined form, played a small but significant role in the lives of these ancient peoples. Little did they know that this humble substance would one day fuel a global revolution, transforming the world in ways they could scarcely imagine. To understand the story of oil, we must journey back millions of years to a time when dinosaurs roamed the Earth and vast oceans covered much of the planet. Oil's origins lie in the slow decay of ancient marine organisms, tiny plants and animals that lived and died in these prehistoric seas. As these organisms perished, their remains settled on the ocean floor, forming layers of organic matter over eons. Over time, these layers were buried under sediment, subjecting them to immense heat and pressure deep within the Earth's crust. This intense heat and pressure, combined with the absence of oxygen, transformed the organic matter into hydrocarbons, the building blocks of oil and natural gas. These hydrocarbons, lighter than water, migrated upwards through porous rocks, seeking escape from the Earth's depths. In some cases, they encountered impermeable layers of rock, forming vast underground reservoirs, hidden treasures waiting to be discovered. For millennia, these reservoirs lay dormant, their existence unknown to the humans who walked above. But the Earth held its secrets close, waiting for the right moment to reveal its bounty. The year was 1859. The United States, a young nation on the cusp of industrialization, was hungry for new sources of energy. Whale oil, the primary source of illumination, was becoming increasingly scarce and expensive. The search was on for a cheaper, more abundant alternative. Enter Edwin Drake, a former railroad conductor with a thirst for innovation. Armed with little more than determination and a rudimentary understanding of drilling techniques, Drake embarked on a seemingly audacious quest to drill for oil. Skepticism ran high. Many believed Drake's endeavour was a fool's errand, a waste of time and money, but Drake persisted, driven by a belief that oil held the key to a brighter future. He chose a site near Titusville, Pennsylvania, where oil seeped naturally from the ground, hinting at the riches that lay below. After months of grueling labour and setbacks, Drake's drill bit struck liquid gold. On August 27, 1859, at a depth of just 69 feet, oil gushed from the well, marking a pivotal moment in history. Drake's gamble had paid off, ushering in a new era of energy abundance and forever changing the course of human civilization. News of Drake's discovery spread like wildfire, igniting a frenzy of excitement and speculation. Prospectors, entrepreneurs and dreamers flocked to northwestern Pennsylvania, eager to stake their claim in this newfound bonanza. The sleepy countryside was transformed into a bustling hub of activity as derricks, those towering symbols of oil's promise, sprouted from the ground like iron trees. Towns like Titusville, Oil City and Pithole, once quiet backwaters, boomed overnight, their population swelling with fortune seekers. The air buzzed with the clang of machinery, the shouts of workers, and the ever-present scent of crude oil, a potent aroma that spoke of both wealth and risk. The landscape, once a tapestry of rolling hills and verdant forests, was forever altered. Roads were carved through the wilderness, pipelines snaked across the countryside, and refineries, those industrial behemoths, rose to process the black gold into usable fuel. The oil boom had begun, and with it, a new chapter in human history was being written. The world would never be the same. As the oil boom transformed Pennsylvania, a shrewd young businessman from Cleveland, Ohio, recognized the immense potential of this burgeoning industry. His name was John D. Rockefeller, and he would become synonymous with oil, amassing a fortune and building an empire that would reshape American business. Rockefeller, a meticulous organizer with a keen eye for efficiency, entered the oil industry in 1863, investing in a small refinery in Cleveland. Unlike many of his competitors who were focused solely on extracting oil from the ground, Rockefeller understood that true wealth lay in controlling the entire supply chain from wellhead to consumer. He began by streamlining his refinery operations, implementing cost-cutting measures, and investing in new technologies. His refineries produced kerosene, the most sought-after oil product at the time, used for lighting homes and businesses. But Rockefeller's ambitions extended far beyond refining. He envisioned a vertically integrated company, one that controlled every aspect of the oil industry, from transportation to distribution. And so began his relentless pursuit of dominance, a quest that would make him one of the most powerful men in America. Rockefeller's masterstroke was the creation of Standard Oil in 1870, a company destined to become a byword for both innovation and controversy. Through a combination of shrewd business tactics and ruthless efficiency, Standard Oil began to swallow up its competitors, acquiring refineries, pipelines and distribution networks at an alarming rate. One of Rockefeller's key strategies was horizontal integration, acquiring or forcing out rival refineries to consolidate his control over the refining process. He negotiated preferential rates with railroads, giving him a significant cost advantage over his competitors. Those who resisted his overtures often faced ruin, as Standard Oil's vast resources allowed it to undercut prices and drive them out of business. By the 1880s, Standard Oil had a stranglehold on the American oil industry, controlling an estimated 90% of refining capacity. This unprecedented dominance gave Rockefeller immense power, allowing him to dictate prices, control supply, and influence politicians. The Standard Oil Trust, as it was known, had become a symbol of the Gilded Age, a time of rapid industrial growth and unchecked corporate power. But Rockefeller's empire, built on a foundation of efficiency and ruthlessness, would soon face a reckoning. As Standard Oil's grip on the oil industry tightened, a chorus of dissent began to rise. Small businesses, crushed by Rockefeller's predatory practices, cried foul. Consumers, feeling the pinch of higher prices, questioned the fairness of a system that seemed rigged in favor of one man. Journalists, muckrakers and social reformers exposed the darker side of Standard Oil's success, revealing tales of intimidation, bribery and political manipulation. Ida Tarbell's scathing exposé, The History of the Standard Oil Company, published in 1904, painted a damning portrait of Rockefeller's empire, fueling public outrage and calls for reform. The backlash against Standard Oil coincided with a growing movement for antitrust legislation. Proponents of reform argued that monopolies stifled competition, harmed consumers, and undermined the principles of a free market. In 1890, Congress passed the Sherman Antitrust Act, a landmark piece of legislation that outlawed monopolies and restraints of trade. The stage was set for a legal showdown between the government and Standard Oil, a battle that would have far-reaching consequences for American business. While the battle over Standard Oil raged in the United States, the oil industry was undergoing a global transformation. New discoveries in distant lands, from the deserts of the Middle East to the jungles of South America, were shifting the balance of oil power. In 1901, the Spindletop Gusher erupted in southeastern Texas, unleashing a torrent of oil that dwarfed anything seen in Pennsylvania. The Texas oil boom was on, and it would transform the United States into the world's leading oil producer. Meanwhile, European powers were scrambling to secure oil supplies for their growing navies and industries. The discovery of oil in Persia, now known as modern-day Iran, in 1908 by the British-owned Anglo-Persian Oil Company, later known as BP, had profound geopolitical implications. Oil was no longer a purely American affair. It was becoming a global commodity, one that would shape the destiny of nations and fuel international rivalries for decades to come. As the world entered the 20th century, the stage was set for a new era of oil-driven conflict and cooperation, one that would test the limits of technology, diplomacy, and human ambition. The rumble of distant thunder echoed across Europe as the 20th century entered its teenage years. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo ignited a powder keg, plunging the continent into the abyss of World War I. Amidst the chaos of trench warfare and the deafening roar of artillery, a new kind of war machine emerged, one fueled not by coal or steam, but by the black gold that flowed from the earth. The internal combustion engine, a marvel of modern engineering, had come of age. It powered the tanks that lumbered across battlefields, crushing barbed wire and spewing fire. It propelled the airplanes that soared overhead, transforming the skies into a new theatre of war. And it drove the trucks and automobiles that moved troops and supplies with a speed and efficiency never before seen. Oil, once a curiosity, had become an indispensable commodity, the lifeblood of modern warfare. The belligerents, locked in a deadly embrace, recognized that victory depended not only on manpower and firepower, but also on securing a steady supply of this precious resource. The battle for oil, fought alongside the bloody conflicts in the trenches, would shape the course of the war and have far-reaching consequences for the geopolitical landscape. The vast expanse of the North Sea, once ruled by coal-powered dreadnoughts, witnessed a transformation as profound as the one taking place on land. The British Royal Navy, long the dominant naval force, made a fateful decision on the eve of World War I. It would embrace oil as the fuel of the future. Winston Churchill, then First Lord of the Admiralty, recognized the strategic advantages of oil-powered warships. Oil-fired ships could steam faster, farther, and with greater maneuverability than their coal-dependent counterparts. They required smaller crews and could be refueled at sea, giving them a significant tactical edge. The transition to oil, however, was not without its challenges. Britain, lacking significant domestic oil reserves, became reliant on imports from distant lands, particularly from the oil fields of Persia. This dependence on foreign oil made securing those supply lines paramount, shaping British foreign policy and drawing them deeper into the affairs of the Middle East. The German Imperial Navy, meanwhile, struggled to keep pace with Britain's naval build-up. Germany's limited access to oil proved to be a strategic vulnerability, hindering their ability to challenge British dominance at sea. The battle for oil, fought on the waves as well as on land, would have a profound impact on the outcome of the war. As the guns fell silent and the Treaty of Versailles brought a fragile peace to Europe, the world grappled with the aftermath of the Great War. The conflict had accelerated the transition from coal to oil, highlighting its strategic importance and fueling a global scramble for new sources of this vital resource. The United States, which had emerged from the war as a major oil producer, saw its domestic consumption soar as automobiles became increasingly popular. The roar of the engine, once a novelty, became the soundtrack of the Roaring Twenties, a decade of economic prosperity and technological advancement. Meanwhile, in the oil-rich regions of the Middle East, new discoveries were being made, further fueling international competition for control of this valuable commodity. The discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia in 1938 by American geologists working for Standard Oil of California, later known as Chevron, would have seismic geopolitical consequences, transforming the kingdom into a global energy powerhouse. The interwar years, a period of relative peace and economic recovery, masked a growing tension, a simmering conflict over oil that would soon erupt into a global conflagration. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 plunged the world into darkness once more. The conflict, even more devastating than its predecessor, would be fought on a global scale, from the frozen wastes of the Eastern Front to the sweltering jungles of the Pacific. Oil once again played a pivotal role in the conflict. The German war machine, heavily reliant on oil-powered tanks and aircraft, depended on securing access to oil fields in Romania and the Soviet Union. The Japanese, their island nation, starved of natural resources, launched a desperate gamble to seize oil-rich territories in Southeast Asia. The Allies, recognizing the strategic importance of oil, made it a priority to cripple the Axis powers' access to this vital resource. The United States, with its vast oil reserves and production capacity, became the arsenal of democracy, supplying its allies with fuel and other essential war materials. The battle for oil, fought on land, sea and air, would prove to be a decisive factor in the outcome of the war. From the North African desert, where Rommel's Africa Corps was ultimately defeated in part by fuel shortages, to the Pacific Theatre, where the Japanese war effort was crippled by the Allied naval blockade, oil played a critical role in determining the fate of nations. The smoke of World War II had barely cleared when the world embarked on a new era, one marked by rebuilding, reconciliation and unprecedented economic growth. The war-torn economies of Europe and Asia, aided by the Marshall Plan and other reconstruction efforts, experienced a resurgence, fueled in no small part by the black gold that flowed from the earth. Oil, once a tool of war, became a catalyst for peacetime prosperity. The demand for oil soared as industries rebuilt, automobiles filled newly constructed highways, and homes were heated by oil-fired furnaces. The United States, its oil industry relatively unscathed by the war, emerged as the world's leading producer and consumer of oil, its economy booming as the rest of the world played catch-up. The American dream, symbolized by home ownership, affordable automobiles, and a consumer culture fueled by cheap energy, became a model for other nations striving for prosperity. Suburbs sprawled across the landscape, their growth facilitated by the availability of affordable gasoline. The open road beckoned, promising adventure and freedom, a testament to the transformative power of oil. But this newfound prosperity, built on a foundation of seemingly limitless oil, masked a growing dependence, a vulnerability that would soon be exposed. As the West enjoyed its post-war economic boom, a profound shift was taking place in the oil-rich regions of the Middle East. The days of colonial control over oil production were coming to an end, as newly independent nations asserted their sovereignty over their natural resources. In 1960, 5 oil-producing countries, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela, came together in Baghdad to form the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC. This historic agreement marked the birth of a powerful cartel, one that would reshape the global oil market and challenge the dominance of Western oil companies. OPEC's stated goal was to coordinate and unify the petroleum policies of its member countries and to ensure the stabilization of oil markets in order to secure an efficient, economic and regular supply of petroleum to consumers, a steady income to producers, and a fair return on capital for those investing in the petroleum industry. The formation of OPEC was a watershed moment in the history of oil. It signaled the growing influence of oil-producing nations and their determination to control their own destiny. The world was entering a new era, one in which the balance of power in the oil market was shifting. The delicate balance of power in the global oil market, maintained for decades by Western oil companies and their allies, was about to be shattered. In 1973, the Arab-Israeli conflict once again flared up, igniting the Yom Kippur War. In response to the United States' support for Israel, the Arab members of OPEC, led by Saudi Arabia, took the unprecedented step of imposing an oil embargo on the West. The embargo, which lasted for several months, sent shockwaves through the global economy, exposing the West's dependence on Middle Eastern oil. Oil prices quadrupled virtually overnight, leading to widespread fuel shortages, rationing, and economic recession. Lines at gas stations stretched for blocks as motorists anxiously waited to fill their tanks. Businesses were forced to curtail operations or shut down altogether. The 1973 oil crisis, as it came to be known, was a wake-up call for the West, a stark reminder that oil was not simply a commodity, but a strategic resource with the power to cripple economies and reshape geopolitics. The embargo demonstrated the effectiveness of OPEC as a cartel and highlighted the vulnerability of nations reliant on foreign oil. The 1973 oil crisis had a profound and lasting impact on the world. It exposed the fragility of the global energy system and the risks associated with over-reliance on a single source of energy. In the United States, the crisis led to a renewed emphasis on energy independence. President Richard Nixon launched Project Independence, an ambitious plan to achieve energy self-sufficiency by 1980. While the goal proved elusive, the crisis spurred investments in alternative energy sources, such as solar and wind power, and a push for greater energy efficiency. The crisis also led to the creation of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, a massive stockpile of oil stored in underground caverns along the Gulf Coast, designed to cushion the impact of future supply disruptions. Around the world, nations scrambled to diversify their energy sources, reduce their dependence on Middle Eastern oil, and develop alternative energy technologies. The crisis had ushered in a new era of energy consciousness, one in which the quest for energy security and sustainability would become increasingly urgent. As the 20th century marched on, the thirst for oil showed no signs of abating. The global economy, increasingly interconnected and reliant on this energy-dense fuel, demanded ever greater supplies to sustain its growth. Meeting this insatiable demand fell to the ingenuity of engineers and the daring of explorers, who ventured into ever more challenging environments in their quest for black gold. Offshore drilling, once a futuristic concept, became a reality in the decades following World War II. Pioneering companies armed with new technologies and a thirst for untapped reserves pushed the boundaries of what was possible, erecting towering platforms that stood defiant against the fury of the open ocean. From the Gulf of Mexico to the stormy waters of the North Sea, these offshore behemoths extracted oil from depths once thought unreachable, connecting distant reservoirs to a world hungry for energy. On land, advancements in seismic imaging allowed geologists to peer deep beneath the Earth's surface, creating detailed maps of underground formations and pinpointing potential oil deposits with remarkable accuracy. Horizontal drilling, a technique that allowed drillers to steer their bits laterally through rock layers, unlocked previously inaccessible reserves, maximizing production from existing wells and minimizing the environmental footprint on the surface. The quest for oil was a testament to human ingenuity, a relentless pursuit of innovation that pushed the boundaries of engineering and expanded the frontiers of exploration. For decades, vast reserves of oil and natural gas lay trapped within shale formations, layers of sedimentary rock that held the promise of energy abundance but defied conventional extraction methods. Shale, unlike porous and permeable rocks that readily release their hydrocarbons, clung tightly to its energy treasures, requiring a revolutionary approach to unlock its potential. That revolution arrived in the form of hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, a technique that combined high-pressure fluids and sand to create fissures in shale rock, allowing the trapped oil and gas to flow freely to the surface. Fracking, initially developed in the 1940s but perfected in the late 20th century, transformed the energy landscape, unlocking vast reserves previously considered uneconomical to produce. The United States, once facing the prospect of declining oil production, experienced a renaissance, its shale formations yielding a bounty of oil and gas that reshaped global energy markets. The shale revolution, as it came to be known, transformed the United States into an energy superpower, reducing its reliance on foreign imports and influencing geopolitical dynamics around the world. But this newfound energy abundance came at a cost, sparking heated debates about the environmental impact of fracking and its long-term consequences for water resources, air quality, and climate change. The relentless pursuit of oil, while fueling economic growth and technological progress, left an indelible mark on the planet. Oil spills, a tragic consequence of accidents and human error, scarred pristine ecosystems, releasing millions of barrels of crude oil into delicate marine environments and coastal habitats. The images of oil-soaked birds, dying marine mammals and blackened shorelines served as stark reminders of the environmental risks associated with our dependence on oil. Beyond the immediate devastation of oil spills, the burning of fossil fuels, including oil, released billions of tons of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, contributing to a warming planet and the growing threat of climate change. The scientific consensus was clear. Human activity, particularly the burning of fossil fuels, was the primary driver of global warming, with potentially catastrophic consequences for future generations. The environmental movement, gaining momentum since the 1960s, found its voice amplified by the growing body of scientific evidence linking fossil fuels to climate change. Concerned citizens, scientists and activists demanded action, urging governments and industries to transition to cleaner, more sustainable sources of energy. The world was waking up to the environmental cost of its oil addiction, recognizing that the pursuit of energy security could not come at the expense of the planet's health. The environmental consequences of oil exploration, production and consumption became increasingly difficult to ignore as the 20th century drew to a close. The Exxon Valdez oil spill in 1989, which released millions of gallons of crude oil into Alaska's Prince William Sound, galvanized public opinion, highlighting the devastating impact of oil spills on fragile ecosystems and coastal communities. The Deepwater Horizon disaster in 2010, an explosion and fire on an offshore drilling rig in the Gulf of Mexico, served as a grim reminder of the risks inherent in deepwater drilling and the potential for catastrophic environmental damage. The spill, which released an estimated 4.9 million barrels of oil into the Gulf, had a devastating impact on marine life, coastal economies, and the livelihoods of thousands of people. These disasters, along with the growing scientific consensus on climate change, fueled a global awakening to the environmental costs of our dependence on fossil fuels. Governments around the world began to implement policies aimed at reducing greenhouse gas emissions, promoting energy efficiency, and investing in renewable energy sources. The transition to a more sustainable energy future would be complex and challenging, requiring a fundamental shift in energy consumption patterns, technological innovation, and international cooperation. But the stakes had never been higher, as the world grappled with the need to balance its energy needs with the imperative of protecting the planet for future generations. As we stand at the cusp of a new era, the legacy of oil, this potent elixir that has fueled human progress for over a century, is a complex and multifaceted tapestry. It is a legacy woven from threads of innovation and greed, of triumphs and tragedies, of unprecedented prosperity and looming environmental challenges. Oil, the black gold that has shaped our world, has been both a blessing and a curse, a force for both good and ill. On the one hand, oil has been the engine of human ingenuity, propelling us from the horse-drawn carriage to the jet age, transforming transportation, industry, and our very way of life. It has lifted millions out of poverty, fueled economic growth, and connected the world in ways unimaginable just a few generations ago. The conveniences we take for granted, the products we consume, the technologies that define our modern world, all bear the indelible mark of oil. Yet the pursuit of oil has also come at a steep price. Wars have been fought over its control. Economies have risen and fallen on its volatile price swings. And the environment has borne the brunt of its extraction, transportation and consumption. Oil spills, air pollution and climate change stand as stark reminders of the environmental debt we owe to our insatiable thirst for this finite resource. The legacy of black gold, then, is one of profound duality, a testament to human ambition and ingenuity, but also a cautionary tale about the consequences of unchecked consumption and the urgent need for a more sustainable path forward. Today, we stand at a crossroads, facing a future where the choices we make about energy will determine the fate of our planet and the well-being of generations to come. The era of cheap and abundant oil is drawing to a close as conventional reserves dwindle and the environmental costs of fossil fuel dependence become increasingly apparent. The energy landscape is undergoing a profound transformation, driven by technological innovation, environmental concerns, and geopolitical shifts. Renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, and geothermal are rapidly becoming more affordable and efficient, offering the promise of a cleaner, more sustainable energy future. Electric vehicles, once a novelty, are becoming increasingly mainstream, offering a viable alternative to gasoline-powered cars and reducing our reliance on oil for transportation. Energy efficiency measures, from smarter grids to more energy-efficient buildings, are curbing energy demand and reducing our overall environmental footprint. The transition to a more sustainable energy future, however, will not be easy. It will require a fundamental shift in our energy consumption patterns, massive investments in new technologies, and a global commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The challenges we face are significant, but so too are the opportunities. The transition to a more sustainable energy future holds the promise of not only mitigating the worst effects of climate change, but also creating new industries, jobs, and economic opportunities. Investing in renewable energy technologies, energy efficiency measures, and a smarter, more resilient energy grid will create millions of high-paying jobs and stimulate economic growth. It will reduce our reliance on volatile global oil markets, enhancing energy security and reducing geopolitical tensions. Moreover, embracing a more sustainable energy future is not simply an environmental imperative, it is a moral obligation to future generations. We have a responsibility to leave behind a planet that is healthy, habitable, and capable of supporting life in all its diversity. The dawn of a new energy era is upon us. One marked by innovation, collaboration, and a shared commitment to creating a more sustainable future. The legacy of oil, with all its complexities and contradictions, serves as a reminder of both the transformative power of energy and the importance of making wise choices about how we harness and consume.